She said her favorite TV show was Ancient Aliens. And I'm like, that's my girl.
You needed a green tick on your phone. And that green tick showed that you were vaccinated. Well, guess what? I just took a screenshot of that green tick and put it on my phone so I could get into places to eat.
I bought a lot of women's underwear from the bargain bin.
The G-string going right to the nose.
I did not get post-traumatic stress from Iraq at all. It was my first marriage. So, you know.
It survived Iraq, but not her.
I'm not even sure what you guys are talking about.
I do wonder why they call it a straight, because it's nothing straight about
It's an elbow,
it. It's
right?
It's a big bend.
If it was a straight, there wouldn't be a problem.
I thought we were changing the name to the Gay of Hormuz, just to like incorporate, more people.
Are we trying to get cancers from the go? Let's go.
What's wrong with the Gay of Hormuz? I thought that's perfectly fine.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
They should get a day.
Fine. I'm making an introduction before we get in. Today's guest is Colonel Kenny Dupar, a retired soldier, an author, YouTube creator, and wrote the book Pinup Dolls and Classic Cars, a COVID love story. His YouTube videos range from military advice to dating disasters. And I think Crocky has been waiting for this episode for a long time. So before we get there, I want to try to hash out a few things because I know where it's going to go. I think it'll be me that's getting ganged up tonight. So in your book, I've never heard the term, to be honest, Gearheads, but I now understand it. Now know what it is. We all know what a pinup doll is, and so I'm kind of getting it. I think when someone writes a book, they put a lot of their, projecting themselves in some regard. So I want to hit some fun stuff right away, or may not be fun, but it's fun for Ethan and I to pry into stuff. And that is, you have this gearhead. He ends up falling in love with this pinup doll. You do have a lot of Bel Airs in the book, which compared to some other cars, I did wonder, it's a working man's car. Ethan, it'd be equivalent to the Holden Ute in the 80s, is the Bel Air in the 50s. So this is a great car that a mom could drive, a guy selling insurance could drive, and then it can be a muscle car. I mean, it was a mix. It was like this 6-cylinder car that's out there. So it makes a presence quite a bit. And then this love story strange, both of them bring some baggage with them. I saw there's some children in this baggage that end up, during the COVID, these kids end up being, and I know this is going to strike a chord. So that's why I'm setting the stage to get as much of this out as we can before we get digressed. But these kids end up seeming to be weaponized, if I could say that. And weaponized in the sense that there's split custody, there's COVID happens, it's setting the scene, but let's just table that as a fact. And so, having gotten to that baggage, you must have started with some divorce. You were in the military. I take it the character is a projection of yourself, which I assume you are a kind of an army brat and moved around as a kid.
No, I'm not a brat. My father was in the Navy.
Navy, okay.
Well, you're right about writing being cathartic and that you use elements of your own background. And for me, it's a matter of noodling previous experiences and trying to make sense of things. And as far as people in custody battles using kids like the nuclear football, I think that's pretty normal. How many divorces are completely copacetic? I've been divorced, but I'm like a nervous wreck because I'm getting married in a month. It's like 37 days.
And did you meet her during COVID? This is what this book sort of seems to me. Okay. All right. See?
Yeah. I met her
Ethan
during
and I
COVID.
should start like a psychology business where we just follow people around and give them advice and create massive anxiety. All right. Please tell us. You met her during COVID?
I met her during COVID. I met her on a dating app. And it was her last bullet comment on the dating app that sold me, which is that she said her favorite TV show was Ancient Aliens. Nice. And I'm like, that's my girl. Yes, that's my girl. She likes the weird. Yeah, I love that.
And by last message on the app, it means that she deleted the app because you two hooked up after that and stayed together. I assume that's what that implies.
That's her story. Yep.
Nice. And what app is this?
Plenty of Fish.
Ah, so that's the new one. We don't even know that one.
Is that the Christian one? Is that a Christian dating site?
That's Christian mingle. I think that's what
I just thought with the fish it
going
kind of
for.
implied Christianity too, but okay.
No, it just kind of means that there's a lot
Yeah,
of
I get it.
people out there looking for other people. It's like if you want to meet a girl, you go where the girls are. And if the girls are online, that's where you go. But yeah, dating during COVID was a challenge. I was living in Seattle land and they shut things
Northwest.
down really fast.
Yeah, I imagine Seattle would have been like Australia. It would have been godless, Mad Max, except for unless you're wearing a mask, right? Like, so literally, there was crime happening everywhere, but the police didn't care. They wanted to find people who weren't wearing masks.
All right, hold up. We got to get to some story before we get there. I'm from Oregon. I know the Northwest. It's a fun vibe, but you're living in Seattle, and you met her in Seattle as well. You were in Seattle?
I moved to East Tennessee.
Oh, dear, the Smoky Mountains.
Smoky Mountains.
I sold the company to a firm there, and I never want to go back.
Really?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. We got season passes to Dollywood.
I have been to Dollywood. It's actually a place it's kind of a unsung nice little gem. I mean, what's the town in right next to Dollywood? Gatlinburg, yeah. The whole place is all made for tourists.
Yeah.
It's kind of a unique little carving. So, in fact, my daughter still has a little horseshoe knife that she made there at the welding, whatever it is, blacksmith thing. So, nice. So that's where you are now. You met her in Seattle on an app. Was she also in Seattle?
Yeah, she's a corporate girl. And so they make like 911 systems, real technical type stuff. She makes a lot of money. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense that I would marry a chick who can actually, produce income.
Lock it up.
Well, last time he was carrying all the load, I'm sure. So this time, you get to upgrade your partner.
Now, did you divorce in the Seattle area too?
No, I was living in Milwaukee.
Oh, man.
I've lived all over the place.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, do you have some kids, I assume?
My daughter is 26.
26, okay.
So she's living in St. Louis.
And during COVID, she would have just been maybe a senior starting college?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, she was like a freshman.
And was she in Milwaukee still?
Yeah, she was. But she's graduated. She got a master's degree in human resources, and now she's answering people's resumes and scrubbing toilets.
Oh, that's a good mix.
So,
nice.
when you're the low person on the totem pole, so she's just getting started. I'm at the end of the trail, so yeah, I'm locking this girl up. Well, we're really locking her up, but one more chance, man.
It's a metaphor.
So I'm getting really nervous. I saw my urologist this morning, and so that's good.
So everything checks out. You got your exam.
You guys wait. 1 out of 3 of us is going to have a prostate issue. So every month should be prostate awareness. Women don't have prostates. How unfair is that?
Well, I think some women
that's
do
not
these
true.
Days. I think some women do these
Ethan
days.
actually would make an argument.
Women's have got all the bits these days.
Especially in Seattle. I have not had my exam. Have you had an exam?
I told you about my one and only exam to get into America.
That's right. Right.
I got the thorough exam.
They did that to you just to get into America?
Just to give me a green card, bro. I didn't even hand out citizenship for that. It was just a green card.
Listen.
I had to pay.
Ethan's asking for it all the way. I mean, that guy looks like he's like, manhandle me. He's just walking through begging
They took me all the way up to the embassy just to strip me down and play with me. It was crazy.
They wanted
I guess I'll believe you just because we just met.
Dude, I've got the results.
I don't think that was necessary, though.
I don't either. I don't know. Hey, I was young, I guess. I was young and naive.
Of course you were.
They did give him a little thing to drink, though. I mean, they offered him some sparkling
they gave me a
cider.
Afterwards. Some candy.
You mind telling us, Kenny, about the divorce?
I handled it really well.
Nice.
I handled it really well, and I avoided having a lawyer, as did she. And I used her lack of math skills against her.
Oh, great. I see. So
What's the percentage?
We'll divide by 50%.
What number sounds bigger?
2.
What number sounds bigger to you?
I'll keep 1 house. You get 2 cars. Nice. Okay.
Yeah, well, it was more like World War III, and I lost. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
Now,
that's
in civil
okay.
court, you don't really need evidence. You just need a really cool story that the judge likes.
I avoided all that. I
Mm.
avoided all that.
How old was your daughter?
She was 19.
Oh, so this is right before COVID. Oh man.
It was before COVID. Yeah.
Just before the big crisis. That's awesome. I mean, not for you, but for the story.
Right. Yeah. I went to Seattle land to remodel a J.C. Penney, and I met her. I like like you said, Joe, I like the vibe of the Pacific Northwest. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Make it through the rain.
And
They filmed the Goonies there.
That's Portland. That's
Oh.
lower.
it don't really miss. You don't really have a good steady rain there.
Well, they have
Um,
like 12 different types of rain. That's the weather. It's like, oh, this morning it's going to drizzle. Then we'll have a spat of lightly sprinkles. And then it'll get to a slow mist. And then rain's never actually part of it.
Yeah. I finished my first novel, Scoundrels in Iraq, and I couldn't be one and done. You know, it only takes 50 years to write your first novel. So I needed to continue to tell my story and noodle things. And I went to a car show
Was
and
that
I
a
saw
romance?
Pinup dolls.
Was that a romance novel as well, though? The Scoundrels in Iraq? Was that a romance novel as well?
No, that's, I figured out the war in Iraq. I lived there for 2 years and I trained troops to go overseas. And so I became, in my own estimation, as a subject matter expert, a SME. And so I did 30 years in the Army Reserve and 8 years active duty. And so
So
now
the other
there's another
22
war in the Middle
was
East.
the other 22 were in the reserves prior to the active duty then?
Oh, yeah. I was in for 17 years before my reserve unit got called up to go to in 2003. I was there in the first inning, if you would.
Wow.
And I trained troops in between. I went back in the 9th inning to close up shop.
You got there when
So-
we were doing baseball cards, and by the end we were doing fall cards. The baseball cards, they had the playing cards. Do you remember where
They had the deck
Deck
of
of
cards,
cards, right.
Right. So Saddam was the ace of spades
Right.
and all that kind of good stuff. Yeah. So now that we've got another war cooking, and everyone seems to want to talk about the Gay of Hormuz and
I feel like it
What-
depends on
what
what
they-
time of day it is, though, right? Because, like, this afternoon, there won't be a war. And then tomorrow morning, the war will be back on again.
We've successfully ended the wars like 70 different times. So
Yeah, the
I
most
mean,
victories of a US president in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
How many
yeah.
wars in the same place do you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
he's counting each one of those. So now he has solved like 78 different wars.
No, this time, I think he said last time, this time he's going to give Iran a chance to get peace this time.
are you saying that the Donald is taking credit for stuff?
No. He would certainly not take credit for anything.
No, I'm saying
No
he's
one's
the
ever,
cause,
no
right?
one's
He
ever
is the
seen
force.
anything like that. No one's ever seen anything like it.
Nothing. It's the most amazing war you've ever seen. You'll never see peace like this. So tell us what it was like dating during COVID. You met her. You met her on an app. You're working, building. You say J.C. Penney's, kind of in a mall area, and that
Was this
was 2020 or 21?
It was
Or
it was in 20.
20.
Was it a renovation or was this after the Summer of Peace?
It was before the Summer of
Before
Peace.
the Summer of Peace. Oh, that's right. That happened during COVID. That was the only time we were allowed to protest. I remember now.
Well, you didn't have to wear your mask when you went to the protest.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they didn't close the pot shops and the liquor stores remained open.
Wait,
If they had closed
essential
the liquor store, that was
services.
in a riot.
Services.
They are essential services. You got to keep the peasants from storming the castle.
Well, there were two really crazy neighborhoods, one in South Seattle and then right downtown Portland, that were just wild for the longest extended time. That police were not going in. So that whole area up there did get pretty out of hand during that no mask phase.
The Chaz and the Chop, where the Seattle Police Department abandoned like the 3rd precinct, and they were able to have a little party for a week or so until some poor black kid got killed, and then they had to actually do something.
All right, they finally moved in. Well, it did take him a long time. I mean, it was a really long time in Portland, I know. So it was not great. It really messed up the downtown area. So you were dating during COVID. Did you all respect your kind of mask and distancing? Was this online? Or based on your book, it sounds like you all actually try to do a lot of distancing with managing various kids. So I assume that was in drama, or, I mean, what was that like and how did you do that?
Well, once you make out with a person, Joe, I think you've pretty much gotten any viruses that they're going to have. So
That's what I would think.
Yeah. So I was 2/3 of the way in my book when COVID happened.
Oh, really?
And I saw this opportunity just to blow apart the lives of all the characters. And the book isn't about COVID. It really is a love story, which is weird that I would have ever attempted something like that. But what was it like? Well, you remember they shut down the movie theaters. It's the first time
I'll be honest. I mean, your book kind of gets into this idea and this premise that kind of you're taking things for granted, that you remember better times. However, for me, I loved COVID. I wish we could go back to COVID. It was the most amazing time. I camped all the time. I hung out with my kids everywhere. There was nobody on any plane. I flew all the time, and I always got first class upgrades. It was like the most magical time. We ended up on this lake for 8 months in Oregon. I sailed every day. It was just amazing. Like, if we could go back, I would instantly jump back into COVID anytime.
Whereas my experience,
you're the
Kenny, I
outlier.
wasn't allowed into a supermarket. I wasn't allowed into a grocery store. I wasn't allowed into any venue because
You're
in
still
my
not
country,
allowed.
Yeah, well, still not allowed. Well, that's for another reason now. But at the time, it was because I chose not to get vaccinated. In Australia, that meant that you were checked out. You weren't allowed to participate in anything.
Yeah, unless you had those vaccine cards.
I had to have fake IDs to get into places to buy food.
But you didn't have to have the vaccine card. I flew all over the world.
You didn't. No,
and
that was why it was so ridiculous, because it was the deadliest virus in the world, and to keep you safe, it was the honor system, and you needed a green tick on your phone, and that green tick showed that you were vaccinated. Well, guess what? I just took a screenshot of that green tick and put it on my phone so I could get into places to eat.
It was in the US, we only had to even have a vaccine card. It was a paper one. I eventually got one, but originally I flew because if you got sick, you could show proof of being sick, and it lasted for 6 months. And that was like, I did get sick for 2 weeks. It was terrible, but then I carried around this thing. But eventually, I ended up getting the vaccine because it was going to be so much easier to fly around if you had the vaccine. So I ended up giving in the end.
Why didn't you just get a fake one?
You could easily. It was a paper document. You could easily do it. But by then, to be honest, there was so much data that the vaccines weren't that bad. And if you've ever watched them be sequenced.
Joe got the vaccine. See, in his defense, he got the vaccines, the ones that were going to work 100%, the 100% effective ones. He got the ones that were going to make sure that you were going to give COVID to anyone else. So Joe got in really early on the good vaccines. He didn't get the bunk ones.
Well, it took me a while until, old fat white guys were able to get in line. And I got the jab going through a elementary school, just like a drive-through. So I was pretty happy with that. I was able to continue my job as a contractor over at Google because,
they own a lot of J.C. Penney's.
Yeah, because the alphabet soup was the first one to demand that, I think.
Oh, yeah, I hated it. I mean, you're sweating. You got to wear a mask. And what I did was that when the masks came out, our contractor said, well, you have to wear a mask. So my boss said, Kenny, go down to Home Depot, get every dust mask you can. I'm like, okay, well, they were sold out, of course. And they said, well, you have to wear
they had the N93s or whatever? Or?
Oh, no, I never even... No, I can.
But this is before those. This is before those. This is just like a painter.
Something on your face, Joe. You could have worn a banana.
I loved that time because you could. Originally, you could wear a scarf, and in Texas, you could have a cowboy hat and a scarf and walk into a bank. It was just like this is like the coolest thing.
Outlaw.
What I did was that I went to the grocery store and I bought a lot of women's underwear from the bargain bin.
Shit? Was it shit? You could see through it, right?
No, you couldn't see through it, but I got some really pretty ones.
Like real big lace, like a black lace.
because if
Wait, so you cut it, so it wasn't
I
as
sewed,
noticeable?
I sewed it.
Oh,
I
that
mean,
would have been
okay, I mean,
classic had it been
if
noticeable. The G-string going right to the nose.
people want to do stupid, I'll do stupid. I have no problems with that at all. I can do that.
Yeah, on the planes, it was frustrating because I did fly a lot. And I flew with my kids, and we had to travel quite a bit. And my son originally, when it was just the handkerchiefs, it was great, right? And then the rule was, while you were eating, you didn't have to wear it. So it was easy because you just take it down. And my son would always keep a soda in front of him, so he wouldn't have to wear it at all. And then they slowly encroached more, and they're like, you have to wear the mask, the N95 mask. And if you don't have one, we'll provide one for you. And then it became, you have to take a bite and then put it back, take a bite and put it back. And that part was starting to get annoying. But one of the things that I noticed that I still remember to this day is there was a lady, and this happened to me 2 different times. I'm sure it's happened to everybody, but it really is the crux, I think, of the story of COVID, because I don't really blame the administration. I don't hate Fauci. I think he actually did a pretty good job. But there was a lady sitting about 1 seat behind, just next to me, and she would not stop ringing the light and trying to get the flight stewardess's attention to rat out a guy in front of her who just didn't want to wear it. So he's like putting it on his neck, or he was like just having it half off. And that just freaked her out. She could not stand like him not following all the rules, even though on a plane, you got like a $30 million air ventilation system. So let it blow and let it circulate. And that was something interesting, because I think what really was the story behind COVID is that our own society turned into almost like the have and the have-nots. Like there was a massive group who just wanted to rat out people and take it to extremes of some kind of flattening of society that turned. We had it happen on a walk as well. A lady, she was in plastic things, and she, as we walked past her outside, we're outside, and she's like, inconsiderate. I'm like, we're outside, are you serious? And that was right when COVID started, and I was like, yeah.
It turned into
Yeah, it was like all of a sudden
disobey.
East Germany. It's like people ratting each other out like it's East Germany or something like that. And with the, I think the end result is that with all these absurdities that we're talking about here, it was a form of tyranny in my book, in that the whole 6-foot distancing was just a fiction. The masks were like trying to stop a mosquito going through a chain link fence. And with the restaurants, okay, so I need a mask to get into the restaurant, but then when I sit down, I can take it off. And it's like we're in a play where we're supposed to do all these stupid little tricks, and you get more and more pissed off until it's like, is this really just about control?
I thought we could actually beat the virus by virtue signaling. I thought that if we appease the virus enough and let it know that we really do care about it, that
The
it would
great
just go
COVID
away.
god.
Yeah.
The great COVID god. Who do you think is to blame? We have a few things, right? We have a government that is...
Communists.
All right.
The communists are to blame.
So who do we call the communists?
always-
Is this our government? Is this political faction that support them? Or, so let's just say there's Fauci in the government. Trump was pro-Fauci, and he even took claim to the first vaccine, and then Biden came in, and they all kind of carried it out. So there's lots of Trump and Biden, but to be honest, it was a continuation of the same thing. And then you have the media who got involved. And our country's different than any other country because we have free media. If you look at China and Russia, they had one
Saying that again. Say that. That's hilarious.
Well,
How many people did America censor? And not only America censoring,
I agree.
America got other people in other countries censored. Like, Australia didn't censor anybody. Australia just did whatever America told them to do. Like, this is insane.
Let me finish on
insane,
media.
Joe. Your
Let me finish on
memory
media.
is insane.
I do agree that the White House ultimately put a lot of pressure on Facebook, and they definitely went after YouTube and started censoring. No question. But let me
Elon
finish.
spent $44
Let me
billion so we could say the word COVID.
That's fair. That's fair. But let me finish what I mean about free media. Is that when you have free media versus controlled central media, right? The controlled central media controls the message. So the one thing China did not want to say is we have a virus we can't control, and Russia didn't want to look like they didn't have control. But in the US, it was like anybody and everybody can say anything they want. And so when you are a media front, you're trying to sell views or papers. And in that case, fear sells. So then we had this like competition going on to scare the hell out of everybody. So in the US, we had by far more scare tactics going on that were not government related, just media trying to outscare other
There's a
media.
massive political element you're leaving out of this, Joe. And the media is part of this as well. And this, I would say the communists, Kenny, this is where you come in too. The communists didn't like the fact that America got to vote for their own president. Like, I don't care about Trump. He's an idiot, right? But the fact is, people voted for him in 2016, and the establishment was pissed about that. The communists were pissed that the people actually got to vote for their own president. So the reason why COVID happened was to stop people from being able to vote in person so you could frickin' rig the system.
I'll buy that. But I want to go back to something Joe was talking about. And that was that when I was dating my fiance for another 37 days, God, I'm scared. Anyway, I'm starting to panic here. I'm getting a little bit weirded out. Anyway, her daughter was a junior in high school. You know, we were the only country that shut down the schools.
No,
for
not the only country. There are many, but we definitely had them the longest time closed.
And those poor kids, I tell you what, they missed out on a lot of living, and it was a joke as far as their grades and stuff like that was concerned. So that generation really got a gut blow. And so with my book, I was able just to look at the human side of it, so that how it was affecting people. Like, you couldn't get a haircut because they closed down the barbershops. Everybody was looking scraggly. You know, you couldn't get a dust mask, obviously. You had to wear panties on your face.
I just kept the look because it suits me, so I haven't gone back.
Ethan hasn't been back to a barber since COVID.
Yeah.
And so in time, you see when they wouldn't allow you to visit grandma at the assisted living and things like one of the,
and then they killed her anyway. And then they killed grandma anyway. They gave her COVID anyway.
She died. Yeah, you could wave at her through the glass, you know. And my father passed away during COVID, and he had a lot of things wrong with him, but he had COVID. He had the virus when he died. So for billing purposes, he died of COVID. And so there's America, you know, if we can figure out a way to make a buck and defraud the government, why not?
Why do you say that? Why do you say that? I want to dig a little deeper. We definitely accounted, like if you look at the US, we have almost, I think it's close to almost 2.5 times the number of deaths than our closest competitor, which was India, right? So we definitely accounted for COVID deaths way more than anywhere else in the world. And we only have a small portion of the population. So it's a fair argument to say, like, okay, they were just accounting everything. But there's also some other data that shows, I want to share a screen just to go through some of this.
How many people died of heart disease in 2021, 2022?
Yeah. Or the flu.
So here,
I think it went to 0.
Yeah,
here's the number.
Yeah, 0 people died. The flu didn't exist for 2 years. The flu literally did not exist in the records for 2 years.
Right.
This is the US. That's the US, 111 million. India behind that is 45 million. France at 40 million. But then you bring up some other points that I want to bring up, because this is life expectancy of an American. So you see that it dropped, which it dropped, but now it's continued, which does tell us that COVID did have an impact on deaths. But to your point, this other chart really goes to saying, what's the number one killer in our country? Heart disease. So if we were to take this, we say, okay. Yeah. Well, so if you look at heart disease, if people who have high hypertension, so, you know, overweight, those who are going to suffer from heart disease, what it looks like is it did kill people earlier than they would have expected.
And we got rid of the weakest links now. We got rid of all the weak people now, so we're living longer again.
I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there with Ethan. But what it does say is that COVID in the data, if you were Fauci and you were the team looking, it did look like the U.S. was willing to report everything. But the U.S., I was watching it too, and it did look scary. It's like, man, there are a lot of deaths happening, and it's hard to attribute what, because you don't know halfway through the data. But you brought up something that's really interesting that I want to dig in deeper, because I ultimately put them into these three camps. I say there's the government, right? How much does the government play? And even in Texas, the city of Austin ended up imposing a law. It was $1,000 fine not to follow certain restrictions. In some cases, you could go to jail. And then luckily, the governor at the time, Greg Abbott, who's still our governor, he ended up saying, we're waiving all that. You can't add any COVID rules in Texas. So it really only lasted a short time here. But then there's this third group that you brought up, which is worth talking about that doesn't get much mention, and that's the teacher unions. The teacher unions, they're not government entities. The strangest thing happened, I don't know, this isn't followed very much, but the strangest thing happened, and that is the CDC shared with the American Federation of Teachers, which is the federal union, the one that's kind of the master of all the unions. They gave them their COVID guidelines 2 weeks before they went to the public. And then in a congressional hearing that happened like 3 years later, it was testified that that's definitely uncommon. That would not be normal. And so the teachers union literally got to champion inside. And this is where this conundrum happens, because you have the biggest ones are the LA teachers union. You got the Chicago's teachers union. Both of them passed rules that said teachers don't have to work as long. They can work part-time because they're doing Zoom, and they get increased pay. So both of them did this. And then they were the ones that had the largest protests to keep schools closed. But at the so teachers union, I can see it. If I'm a teacher, I'm like, I hate these kids. Wait, I got to stay home and you're going to give me a vacation. All I have to do is keep fighting for this. And I can say, I'm doing it in the name of children. I'm doing it to protect teachers.
Except for one thing, Joe. And this is something that really chaps my behind a lot. And that is, okay, so you're going to give every kid a laptop and you're going to do it remotely. And I mean, I couldn't sit in front of a computer screen all day long. That's not how I am. But what about the special needs kids? Those kids got thrown under the bus in a heartbeat. You're telling me that some special needs kid is going to sit behind a monitor for a few seconds and learn? I mean, they ignored, what their constituents needed.
Well, they definitely.
I think the kids really got screwed over. But one thing, let me ask you guys something. Is that when I'm looking through all your episodes and stuff like this and other podcasts,
we have a listener, Ethan. That's what we have to do is invite more people.
Likes everything.
Yeah. Yes.
You're the one like.
But I think there's a trend just to forget about it, not talk about it, and just go about our merry way, because it's not topical. And I think that half the population who was, living large, like Joe. I mean, what did you say? If we went back to the thing,
he doesn't want to have any kind of remorse.
It's sad but true.
Or you don't want to feel stupid. Like I've felt stupid before when I learned I was wrong. It sucks.
Why do we not discuss it? I thought we were not supposed to forget so that we don't have to relive stuff.
I think it's like everything else. Like even we've got Anzac Day coming up tomorrow here, which is our day of remembrance for our soldiers. And the main motto is lest we forget. Well, the only people that remember are about to die, because everyone that's alive now does not remember. We literally are going through some circus media stunt with our greatest decorated war hero right now. So what I'm saying is like, yeah, it's like JFK, it's like Iraq, it's like Bill Clinton. There is no accountability, and so we're just used to it. That's the problem. We're used to people doing the wrong thing and getting away with it, and everyone talking about, we call it a conspiracy, but really that just means that it's something that someone's not going to get in trouble for now.
We also haven't had a break. And what I mean by that,
one after another.
we had COVID and there was a mess. And towards the end of COVID is where, I honestly I want this conversation to come up and dig deeper, because I have this conundrum in the education part, right? Because one, here is a whole bunch of, let's even say it, a whole bunch of Republicans were sitting on their butt at home waiting for a government check from Trump. And he wanted to have his own signature on it. And then the same group comes up and yells and is angry about education instead of, I don't know, getting off their ass and teaching their own kids, right? And so it's a conundrum, because you have a whole bunch of people who are fighting on a conservative message, but then their real core arguments are all socialists. And that's interesting in itself. But I honestly think where the real investigation and the real blame and the real part has to go into is these teacher unions. They were so powerful. They attempted to keep the schools closed so long. And at the heart of every school are these kids. And you can't go to work if your kids have nowhere to go, right? So then again, in a socialist conscript,
I feel like
none of these parents were like...
blaming the teachers union is like Adam and Eve blaming Satan, right? And the snake. Like, where is the accountability? Who is in charge? The person who's in charge needs to be in trouble. The reason why there's no accountability is because the guy who started the whole vaccine thing is the guy who's the president of the country right now. And, you know, you have America, whether it's left or right, whether it's Republican or Democrat, no one is going to investigate each other because they're all in on it.
The CDC this morning, I looked this morning before I have this. Do you know they have a long COVID warning right now? So many of the same things they said during COVID, they're giving us the same warnings. But
Look,
why does no one listen now and everybody listened then?
I've cheated death lots of times. If COVID thinks it could take me out during the pandemic, I didn't care. You know, it's like you're going into the Quick Trip. I forgot my mask. To hell with it. I'm just going to pick up a mask off the sidewalk
You
and put it back
fucked up,
on
Kenny.
my face. I don't care. Try to kill me. Go ahead. I lived in Iraq for 2 years. I've gone through heart failure a couple times. I just try to kill me. I mean, I want you win the prize. But how about a thing called natural immunity? Ooh,
Herd immunity.
you know?
Or even,
What about that?
even Kenny, I like going back to what we were talking about before, all the other causes of death and life expectancy before COVID. They didn't give a shit about trying to keep people alive. They don't care about trying to keep people's cholesterol down. Like, they went to all this trouble to make sure we couldn't accidentally die from a deadly killer virus. Like, it didn't make any sense.
I got a check for $1,200 from President Trump, and I was pretty happy. Unfortunately, we spent like $10 trillion, you know, and that's why we got.
Well,
to that
he
we had
alone
more-
added 3.7. So yeah, it is accounted to a lot. I mean, because now it's well over, because Biden ended up coming in with another 4 trillion. So in total, COVID cost us all around 8.7, just that portion.
But we're digging
trillion,
up
so.
now. We're digging our way up now. So we'll get out of it.
That's right. With this added 2 trillion we just added.
I'm still going to blame the communists because that's my boogeyman.
But
Sounds
who are
like
the
teachers'
communists? Like,
unions,
who
though.
is?
It's like in
Exactly.
Australia, the teachers' unions and the government are the same thing. So the government and education, like, if our politicians want to get 16-year-olds the right to vote because they know that they've got votes there.
Oh, I want to show one more chart, Ethan, just for you. I looked this one up for fun because we've had this conversation, you can imagine, many times. So this is a fun one because Crocky is definitely, I call it a conspiracy, but he believes COVID. And we're going to talk about this because you have a chapter in your book. I forget what it is. What is it? Gain function?
Gain
And-
of function.
Gain of
Yes.
function, yes. And so Crocky too believes that COVID was manufactured, and in its manufacturing really was to help produce and crush. And these were his Trump days. So Crocky's only recently would call Trump an idiot, but he was
I know
arguing
Trump's
that
always
this.
been an idiot. I've always been anti-establishment. Let's put it that way.
All right.
And then I
Well,
didn't
I wanna
realize
show-
that Trump. I didn't realize how much Trump was establishment. I was fooled
I wanna
by
show-
the media that was calling him an outsider.
This is 1992. This is Ross Perot. And you see this is based on percentage of eligible voters. And so you see, these are all states reporting. And if you back up each one of these charts, you'll see it go down to all counties. And then from all counties, you can go to all precincts, which means to be a crazy conspiracy to where there was an effect on anything other than the fact that we were all staying home and just bored and quite attentive is near impossible to have a conspiracy. There's just, it's a,
What are you talking
It's a
about?
trend.
There's more voter turnout, bro. You're saying there's
I
more
know.
voter turnout when people are afraid to leave their homes. That you're not looking at the data. You are making up a story.
but this is the data.
You're
Look,
making
this is
up a story.
a
There is
sto-
no way more people voted in 2020 than in 2016. There is no way more people voted for Biden than
No.
Hillary Clinton. That is bullshit, and you know it.
All you
Absolute
can do is pull the
bullshit.
data. Those are precincts,
Absolute
counties,
bullshit.
state.
I'm not even sure what you guys are talking about anymore.
Joe thinks that more people voted from their houses in 2020 than in 2016. That's what Joe thinks.
Well, you could make it up.
That's
I
what
mean,
that's what they did. And he's using the made up numbers to prove his point.
All right. What I am
The-
showing is voter data shows that in every precinct, every county, every state, all voters went up. So for it to be a conspiracy,
Show us
that's
the chart. Show
pretty
us the chart.
broad.
But those same precincts had actually more people vote than people in those precincts. Are you
I haven't
fucking
seen
crazy?
those. I haven't
Listen
seen
what
those.
you're saying.
I
Listen to
tried
what
to
you're saying.
find
They
them.
had the biggest voter turnout when everyone was scared of dying. You're
I tried to find
insane.
them. I tried to find them. I can't find a single, and neither has the Trump administration, who has been digging and now digging in Florida as well. So we haven't seen that impact on COVID from COVID yet. All right,
Do you want to hear my theory of the
please,
crime?
please.
Okay. So in Wuhan, where they had this lab, if you would, they developed
Right next to the bat
Farmers
and
market.
pangolin market, right?
pangolin. Right. Well, the problem with the whole pangolin
Pangolin
theory is
soup.
that they never produced an animal that had that virus. So the whole theory doesn't make any sense because you would have to have some evidence that if it actually came from an animal. But what I think what the communists were doing was that they were trying to develop a weapon, a bioweapon, and they were trying to figure out how could they vaccinate their own troops. If they wanted to invade Taiwan, you hit them with COVID first, and then your troops are immune to it. And then we found out that Fauci and the government were funding some of this research, which they weren't supposed to be doing. And I look at this as being human nature. In other words, I talked about East Germany and
Is this like Alabama's
No, I think
Democratic Party funding the KKK for secret info?
or the Poverty Law Center.
Yeah, SPLC.
Yeah,
That's who they are. It's a Democratic Alabama party.
I think it's human nature in that if politicians want to be seen to actually be doing something, so you say, oh, we're going to flatten the curve and all kinds of nonsensical stuff and follow the science and all this other kind of stuff. But when it comes right down to it, with people have power, some people get off on that. People, hey, let's close the churches. Church people are very compliant, you know? And we're sitting there in church and you're singing with a mask on and it's like, okay, yeah, we'll go for it.
Come on, you love it because then you don't have to pretend like you knew the words. Like I've heard
You can just hum it like you were anyway.
Yeah. And so I think
your girlfriend, she's like,
nature.
oh, this humble man, he knows all the words to these songs. You're like,
This is my favorite hymn, and he knows every word.
I'm sure we didn't sound very good. But yeah, so we talked about they didn't close the liquor stores, they didn't close the pot shops.
You know there would be chaos if they did.
Right.
Because there would be chaos. But the whole natural immunity thing, it's like, well, there was the Russian flu that killed in the late 19th century that killed lots of people. And when the Donald said, let's call it the China virus, everyone just freaked out.
He actually said it really early, to be honest. He said it very early on when this happened. He called it the China virus.
Right. And the thing is that we figured out over time that if once you got it, I mean, in early 2020, I had a sore throat for like a week, which was really unusual for me. And I think I probably was exposed to it, but I don't know. I know that I had to get the jab so I could continue to work at Google, once they allowed the fat white guys to get in line. Teachers went first, though, because that was essential. But
then didn't actually go to teach anyone.
What about the fact that your body, it's like any other flu?
Let's hit this Wuhan part, because the WHO has come out and said, all right, we don't have enough evidence. However, the WHO, they are heavily funded from China. Even though we fund more of them, they're heavy hitting. The Chinese play a very instrumental role in the WHO. So some leave that to be like, all right, it's unbiased. The White House website has formally come out and said this was created in the Wuhan lab. The FBI has said it's created in the Wuhan lab, both of these under the current Trump administration within the last year. All the other departments have really said undecisive yet. I think all of us kind of looking at this is like it's pretty obvious this came out of a lab in Wuhan. Like, I honestly, personally don't buy the animal either. In the beginning was like up, but now it's like if you just look where it spread and where it started and how much information there is, it looks like. And I had it for 2 weeks, and it reminded me of having like 5 different sicknesses because it went through stages of each one. I was like, I had the stomach flu, I had a cold flu, I had the fever, went through each stage. So it did remind me like, man, somebody just took a virus and made all of them all in one. But with this, it's left where it's undefined. It's never really been touched on a larger political sphere because we all had COVID. And then before COVID was really done, the Russians invaded Ukraine, took over really the news from it. And then as everybody unfortunately seemed to look the way out of supporting Ukraine, all of a sudden Trump gets elected and he has not stopped making the news cycle for even a day since, all the way down to the Iran war. So to be honest, yeah, I don't know if he sleeps, but we have never really been able to just sit down and debrief COVID anywhere. I mean, there have even been hearings, but they don't get much news. We've really never just broken to say, okay, listen, now that this has all happened, we should probably put some parameters and some rules in place. Like next time this happens, let's go through this, because this would probably be a great way to discuss it, but none of that's happened. So Bill Gates, and many point fingers at Bill Gates, and my own take is if, we've said if we find a cure for malaria, tuberculosis, and diarrhea, it'll probably be contributed to Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation. They spend more money researching those than anyone. So I feel sore, he got a slap in the face for being a pretty stand-up guy for using his money effectively. But he has warned us saying that, listen, we still are not prepared. I mean, we were lucky COVID didn't do anything, but if one that does come that is going to wipe us out, now it's even worse because nobody will believe it. It'll be impossible to get anybody to trust or do anything. But we also learned, it's really hard.
Why did they wreck the trial then? Why did they wreck the chance to get us to comply with real science? Why didn't they hit us with real science? Why didn't they hit us with real stuff? Even if they didn't know what the virus was, at least make the response to it real, like make it realistic, so that, I'm sure like all of you, I thought it was real when they first said it to me. Maybe the first couple of weeks, it was like the killer bees, right? Stay in your house, avoid it. But then when they kept over-embellishing the stories and it didn't match with what you're seeing in reality, people like me begin to question.
It's called tyranny.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. The people... Everyone saw that first crisis, or not first crisis, it was the first major world crisis, right? We haven't had a World War II or World War III in our generation. But COVID was a global crisis where they literally shut down the planet for 2 years, and 2 weeks, and they realized that because they had that amount of power, they weren't going to give it up.
Who is they? That's the problem. Is if you dissect
Who was
it, you
in
find
charge?
there are
people
so
that
many
should
different
be accountable
interests.
are still leading us right now, Joe. You're
Yeah,
right.
but-
And they keep making mistakes. We keep going into crisis after crisis, and we can't even get them accountable for the first one yet.
One of the things, one little nugget is that with the CDC and the people that were running the show there, they were vaccine people. They started their careers fighting AIDS. So they had this mentality of, okay, we can make a vaccine that can work. And that's when Palantir developed Warp Speed. And I became a shareholder after that because they did a great job. But anyway,
You've made some money.
it was like the government went all in on this vaccine thing, and they weren't.
Well, why do you say the government went in all in? You mean just because they fast-tracked the FDA approval? Because it was really the pharmaceuticals that, and sequencing it, it's very similar to, it's a COVID virus. So it's very similar to like a cold. So in sequencing, it's actually amazing how they sequence it. I don't know if you followed that, but in sequencing, they all had their variants sequences, but as they ultimately put it together, it's not too dissimilar than the normal flu vaccine.
How about hydroxychloroquine and some of the palliative things? Like you talk about Bill Gates and malaria. Well, they've been taking that crap in Africa for generations. And how come fewer people died of this in Africa, the entire continent, than in the United States?
But couldn't that be
all the
back
first
to
world
it?
countries that had vaccines have higher death rates. All the first world countries that put science first have higher death rates than the third world countries.
Like, couldn't that be, like I said before, that the reason we have so many high death rates is because we are free press and we are able to say, all right, we're literally going to count everything and try to account for it. Whereas if you go to
So
Africa,
it'd be better to be no press. It'd
they
be better to
don't
have no
know.
TVs and just let people just go about their business
Well,
with no
but
government
that's what
interference. That's basically what you're saying.
no, I have no problem with how it worked.
But you are a
You're the one with the
libertarian, so that does make
complaint.
sense.
You're the one with the complaint. That's what I'm saying is that
Well, because the
Africa
complaint is
probably
that-
didn't report
The
anything
complaint
because they
is
didn't know how.
it wasn't a real crisis, but they made it appear to be a real crisis to test what they could get away with in a real crisis. And that's the problem. And that's why they've lost their trust.
I agree with you, but I don't think it was a conspiracy. I'm just going to go back to it's human nature. Just like that woman on the airplane getting freaked out about someone who won't wear his mask. Or I have a thing in the book where someone throws a party at his house and he has to make sure that the neighbors know so that no one's going to rat him out.
Yeah.
You know, you had people, they closed golf courses and people were ratting each other out just
They had a
walking down the
50th
street
or something,
without a
60th.
mask.
I remember getting an
There's something else-
invitation, and the
Right.
invitation said vaccinators only. So you had to have a vaccine to go to this party. So I mean, it was socially, and that I agree with you that there's a social impact, you know, and it does remind me like on the Nazis where every neighbor it was more enforced, not by government level, but by a societal level. It was more enforced, and there were more problems from that than I think anyone. Where society was saying like, okay, well, if you can't come to this if you don't wear a face mask. I'm like, we're going to your house. You want me to wear a face mask? Then I'm not going.
Wearing women's underwear on my face for months.
You wouldn't have
we're
been allowed at my.
We're being told to rat out on people who have roof racks on their cars in Australia right now because they're wasting fuel.
But didn't that end up defining more of a political friction than it did really about COVID? And that's what I want to get into is like, wasn't there more? Because it became a point to where if you were very liberally minded, and let's just say you had, you know, purple hair, and you went by the pronoun they, you were going to wear a face mask everywhere, and you were angry at anyone who wasn't wearing a face mask. It became so polarized that a face mask immediately told everybody, it's like, okay, you're an extreme left, and if you're wearing a red hat that said MAGA, you're extreme right. And then there are all the people in the middle. But it became sort of the symbol of very polarized politics.
And that's why people don't want to talk about it.
Because we're still in the middle of it.
Well, I mean, the next time this happens, we're going to have Amazon drones dropping off our supply packages to our houses. And a lot of people are going to be like, this is great. I get to spend more time with my children, Joe. And I mean, you're the outlier. I mean, most people, if they got cooped up with their families for months and months and months on end,
actually,
that's not a good thing. Get the kids to school, get them out of the house.
I did find a
Unless they're
study
died.
that references
out
exactly what you
and
said,
die.
that the higher time, and so it's been 4 different scientists researched the COVID time, and the more time you spent, and they went through 4 different time periods, and it was for COVID, but increases in depression, increases in anxiety, and I don't find it, but one more thing was elevated by people spending more time together. And we all know domestic violence went up. There
was
were a lot of
global
things,
health.
a lot of drinking. And so I could see, especially if you lived in an urban area, but doesn't that also help to define some of it? Because what happened before there were Black Lives Matters, we had other protests happening. There were these other riots starting to take place. There were people just cooped up and angry and like, I've had enough. Let's go out. I got to get out. And so more and more people. And so anybody who was trying to hijack those movements, you know, won the day, because then it became like, oh, now we have this formal movement that's happening, and it's okay not to wear face masks because everybody's getting together and we're all it's
And
for a
breaking
good
all
cause.
the other laws. So we don't have to worry about that law.
But again, that's social. It's not like government was coming in and saying, this is COVID, this isn't COVID, this isn't regulated, that's regulated. I mean, this was society, and this became very political. And then it's really that same thing. Like, I think we would probably still, you know, if it was something physical that we could really define each other today, I think it would probably still draw the line in politics today.
I think that a lot of that is an illusion again, though, Joe, too. Like, because if you look at President Trump, for example, and Republicans, like, who is a Republican now? Like even Republicans don't see themselves all as the same anymore. And so I think the forcing of, the defining of the different sides is actually forcing the sides to implode, because there isn't just a one, we're all not liberal on the left, because the liberals on the left, if they want to enforce rules, then they're actually conservative, right? And then we don't have conservatives on the right anymore. If you want to break all the rules, that's being liberal. And so
And
they
same
have really
on the right,
diluted
forcing
all
us
of
to
the
do
brands.
schools.
And what I'm saying is that Republican and Democrat now is just a myth. It's a myth that president uses to say that he has people that follow him. No one follows the president now. Not even Republicans follow the president. It's a myth. There is not even a leader of the Democrats. So who the fuck is following them? These are myths that you use to justify what you do, because every 6 months or every year, you force people to go out and pretend that they're voting for someone that no one even votes for. Like, not even half the people are voting, Joe.
Kenny, we took him too far. Now he's going back into Uniparty, right? This is the Uniparty argument, right?
You still present, you are talking like mainstream, like there is actually two sides.
Right.
When there isn't two sides, there's one side, and then there's how we label you as someone who is antisocial.
The more you guys talk, the more scared I get about what's going to happen to me in 37 days.
Yeah, dude.
I'm still getting nervous about
You're
the
about
whole
to give up
wedding
yourself,
ceremony.
Kenny, but
what
it's
happens if
okay.
something goes
Go
wrong?
find a new.
Listen, you're about to have this amazing pinup girl that is now you get to call wife, so it's going to be fantastic.
Hey, she watches Ancient Aliens, Kenny.
Now,
it's okay.
Has she moved to Tennessee with you, or is she still in the Northwest?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. I bought a really great house out here in Knoxville, and she's got all of her stuff moved in. Some of it's still in boxes.
Nice.
But no, I'm past the point of no return.
Knoxville does remind me of Austin like 20 years ago. It is Austin. When I moved here, it was like 750,000 people. Now it's 2.5 million, and we didn't really build a lot of roads. Now it's a crazy city, and it used to take me 12 minutes to get to the Capitol, and now it's an hour and a half in the morning commute. But Knoxville still kind of got some of that feel like Austin was 20 years ago.
The mayor of Knoxville is the former professional wrestler Kane. If that gives you any,
is that where he's the mayor?
Culture. You remember a wrestler called The Undertaker?
Right.
Well, who wrestled The Undertaker? It was Kane, and he was paid to lose, but he was a huge man, and that's the kind of people that we have here.
Yes, I'm very aware of the people. Yes. I've met quite a few. We'll probably be in lawsuits for a while. But the Smoky Mountains are gorgeous. It's a hard place to fly into because they have a small airport and they do not run. I mean, you basically have to fly in and out from somewhere else. So to go there and out in a day does not happen. It's always a night trip into Knoxville. But it's a beautiful area. I do love the Smoky Mountains. A lot of good hiking up there, and you get some good camping. So. And the waterway, there's amazing, all over Knoxville, you get some amazing water to ski and sailboat. I love sailing, so I'm all over that area.
Yeah, maybe I'll see a Sasquatch in the Smoky Mountains.
See, he's bringing some of his Northwest stuff. What do they have? What's the equivalent to Bigfoot in Australia?
It's a bunyip.
The bunyip.
Yowie, the same thing.
Or drop bears.
Yeah. They reckon there's a black panther that we haven't found here yet too. They reckon there's a big indigenous cat in Australia.
Cryptids. Yeah, I'm totally into it. I'm glad that you picked up on the COVID stuff because I just don't see a lot of people talking about it. I think
well, your book is very thick, so I think it's obviously something that stood out for you. I think Ethan wasn't going to let it go past. So.
I'd love to hear what actually happened. Yeah.
Well, eventually you were able to get your hair cut again. And eventually the governor, Inslee, in the state of Washington, was the last governor in the country to give up his emergency powers because we can't open up the churches again. That would be a mistake. But I'm still noodling it in my own brain as far as what happened, why did it happen? And I would never expect the government to come out and say, okay, guys, we're going to level with you. This is what happened. This is how much money that we wasted. This is how much lost productivity that we had. This is how much education that the children's didn't get. But I'd just be happy if they told us that UFOs were actually a thing.
Or who was on the Epstein list, right?
Yeah, well, now we know why Belinda Gates filed for divorce, right?
Yeah,
Very
Joe.
possible.
That-
It is
and-
very
and-
possible. I'm not
And
saying.
now we know why Joe is defending Bill Gates. You're a paid shield.
I did just see a thing this morning that there's a couple of congressmen who said that Maureen Maxwell, he'd be fine if she was pardoned. So I'm going to be pretty shocked if we find out in the future that Trump ends up pardoning her, because that would be,
Well,
she got moved to a minimum security prison here in Texas with Elizabeth Holmes because she obviously didn't say anything. So she kept her mouth shut.
to Kenny's point, Trump is about to release the UFO files, right? So we're going to get the UFO files before we get the Epstein files.
I don't know. We've already, I mean, they've released them. They're always releasing them. I don't know if we're going to see anything new there.
What about the recent scientists that have gone missing or killed in America, right? Like regarding
It is happening. It is happening.
DOJ and the special metallics or something like that. Do you know much about that, Kenny?
Just that it's occurring, and that it's probably not a coincidence that these people are just like walking out of their homes without their cell phone or their keys and just wandering out there and just disappearing. Or is it an op from some intelligence service? Is it the Russians, or is it the space aliens?
I have a theory. I haven't shared it on this platform at all. I
Oh,
keep
here it
pretty
is.
private, but
Here it is. Here it is.
I don't believe in a specific like secret space program, but I would not put it past, just because of the way that the US defense has planned for global annihilation for the last 50 years. It wouldn't put it past me that they have been secretly exploring the universe with science that we don't know about and that they haven't bothered to share.
I think that's too advanced. I don't know. I worked in the governor's office, and to actually hide a conspiracy, I'm a believer that's near impossible.
The only real pushback that I think even makes sense, Joe, is that, if we had that kind of technology, we would have used it or seen it.
Exactly.
But even still, I think that the technology is so beyond what we have now that they don't need to. Like, they can let things play out and they can still make their money off wars, and they can still do whatever they want with their technology.
Maybe.
Here's my thing, that everyone's heard of Roswell, right? Well, if they crashed their spaceship, either it was on purpose or it was an accident. If it was an accident, then the shit that they build is no good. Maybe they respect our engineering skills because, oh, by the way, 150 years ago, we were all living in like mud houses. But beyond that, if they did it on purpose, I mean, why didn't they rescue the pilots? Right?
Some theories, because I do dabble in it a little bit, but some theories is that the pilots aren't even pilots, they're drones, right? Like we send drones into space, we send the satellites into space first. So, and other people say that they're time travelers too, right?
I want to.
Yeah. The point is that we don't know anything because we're not told what is going on.
I want to segue to things we talk about pilots and things we also don't know what are going on, because I want to get, Kenny, your opinion. And that is, you mentioned Iran. You're a colonel in the Navy. Had you been Army, that's right. Your father was in the Navy, right?
Well, yes.
So of course we have put a few men on the ground, but we've got a bunch of ships ready to go on the ground, apparently going to get some magic dust if we ever give it. Iran, it's funny because whatever is coming out of True Social is basically the opposite of the truth. So it's constant like, Iran's finally going to do all seas, but Iran's like, no, we're not even going to go there. And of course, they don't show up in Pakistan at all to even negotiate at all. So clearly, we're getting nothing but more lies coming out of that.
It's duck season, rabbit season. Have you ever seen that Looney Tunes episode with Elmer Fudd and Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny? It's
I think
exactly
so.
what they're doing. Eventually, one of them's going to say the wrong thing, and that's how they win.
Oh, I was going to say, where does this end up? I was now. Whether it was right or wrong or being there, that's besides the point. As a guy coming from 30 years of service, 8 active duty, where do you think we should be going right now, and what should we be doing right now?
I don't know about what we should be doing, except keeping the embargo going is going to bankrupt them. Supposedly, as far as what they're.
You mean where they're blocking the strait, stopping all the Iranian ships?
Yeah, it's going to screw up their oil industry, and then they don't have money, and then they can't pay their folks. So that's one thing.
Now, do
The
you
thing,
think
the
we
first
can
thing,
starve them out before they starve us out? Because we are starving the whole country in that
Starving
same fight.
Australia. We've only got
All right.
10 days worth of fuel left.
Yeah. No, serious. Europe has already canceled flights.
We secured 300 billion more barrels of diesel, but we use 100 billion in a day.
Yeah.
That's 3 more days.
yeah, it's my big takeaway from this is that as a lover of military history, is that people want to believe, people are going to believe what they want to believe. And when politicians start talking about this is going to be a short duration conflict, that is a huge red flag. They said the exact same thing in 1914 because the war was going to be over by Christmas. They said the exact same thing before the American Civil War. There was a senator, I think from New York or Virginia, who said that he could mop up all the blood of the war with one man's handkerchief. So when I hear people talk about, okay, yeah, we're going to
Vietnam,
be able to wrap
Korea,
this up.
Iraq, all of them.
Yeah, right. And so this is going to be kind of,
Do we leave and just leave it a mess? I mean, did we break it and now have to pay for it? Does that apply here or?
that it does not apply there because being Army, I know that with the topography and the population and the size of the thing, that actually invading it like we did in Iraq, it is
Not
it is
possible.
implausible. So I'm very happy that the Navy is kicking ass. One of the best T-shirts I ever saw in my life was at a Navy PX, and it had a wooden sailing ship on it, and it said United States Navy blowing shit up since 1774. You know, so it's good to see them actually doing stuff. But the reason why war is so dangerous is because you never know what's going to happen. There's second and third and fourth order of effects. With human beings, you can't predict what people are going to do. It's kind of like we cut off the head of the Hydra, right? And what happens? For every
Got
head you
more
cut off,
heads. Yeah.
you got more head.
Your point,
it's
the
chaos.
regime seems to be stronger now. So now they're even more extreme, and we can guarantee if the leader currently is alive, we killed his father, his wife, and his daughter. So you can imagine he's probably a pretty serious extremist at this point. Not to mention what's funny, the irony, he is the son. So is this a new dynasty or is this a new royal family?
I learned on Truth Social that he's also a homosexual. That's why they named it the Gay of Hormuz.
I know.
No, that's
from
not true.
Australia's point of view, it's kind of scary because it looks like Iran just whooped America's butt a few times in war. So, like, even though the president keeps claiming victory, over here it looks like Iran keeps winning against the biggest superpower in the world who's gone alone by themselves. So it's very scary for us. Like, I feel like more than ever, Australia's kind of happy that we've got a relationship with China right now, which is kind of a crazy thing to say.
There's one thing that we should talk about as far as overarching idea, which is that what if this is actually a religious war?
We actually brought that up, first. It seems to be like a future version of the Crusades. I mean, there is more and more. I still use Twitter. I'm still in there, X, and it has become extremely right. So there's not much left viewpoint in it. So I feel I'm not left. I'd call myself very moderate, very centralist, common sense libertarian. So I stay in there to bring some sense to it. And more, there is a call for like a very Christian crusade. And it is really crazy to where more and more people are posting things like, oh, I don't see the Pope talking about this. But you see Hegseth embracing prayer. You see Trump literally thinking he's Dr. Jesus.
There's good people on both sides because there's a lot of people crying for jihadism as well, right? So it's not just the Christian.
Well, it is that. It's chance like that.
They just made it illegal in my state, Queensland in Australia, to say from the river to the sea. So I'm on the border somewhere, so I didn't say that in public, I guess. So hopefully I don't get arrested. But that's illegal to say here right now. And they actually went out and sang a John Farnham song, which has the line from the river to the sea, meaning something else. And they were singing that in public as a protest. And this is only happening last week.
And this is reference to the Jewish term.
This is a massive support in Australia for jihadism against Israel.
Yeah. The weird thing is that in their this is a theocracy. And I think it was Steve Forbes had a opinion piece about 2 weeks ago, and he made the point that clerics never voluntarily give up power. It has to be wrested out of their hands.
Now, are you talking
And
about the theocracy in Iran or in the United States?
in Iran,
In Iran.
the theocracy in Iran.
Yep.
So
The
the
fundamentalist Shiite. Yeah.
IRCG, I mean, they massacre their own people
Mm.
or send children. I mean, in the
They have
early
been
days of
arming kids now. Yep.
in the Iran-Iraq war, they abducted children and had them searching in minefields. So they're saying rhetorically that they're doing this because they are righteous and they've got God on their side. So, and then of course with Israel, I mean, if your enemy says, yeah, we're going to kill all of you, first comes Saturday, then comes Sunday, there's a religious component to this.
We got it's just a whole new kind of Abrahamic accord, huh? We got the Jews and the Muslims. We got the Christians and the Muslims.
Some of these people think they're fulfilling prophecy, don't they?
But it also goes to the Sunni Shia schism. I wrote about this in my book, Scoundrels in Iraq, in that I explain it is that if you want to look at the war, you have to look through the prism of the Sunni Shia schism. Most Americans have no idea what you'd be talking about. But 10% of all Muslims are Shia. And where do they live? They live in Iran and southeastern Iraq. So when Saddam was thrown out, for lack of a better word, they had free and fair elections in 2005. That's why my book cover has a woman with a purple finger. And they changed so that now the Shia majority, they run the show. So they have a fledgling democracy.
I mean, it's more, Iran's even more than just Shia. I mean, they're the fundamentalists. So they're an extreme version of the Shia.
Right. But what did they do? They sent thousands of drones and missiles.
Oh, yeah. No, it's bad. There's no question. Yeah. They're not a good group of people.
Sunni.
Yeah. They're not nice in any way. No, there's nothing good about the regime right now.
We are not affiliated.
What I mean is that there's a large portion of Iran that is protesting and wants out from under the regime, and they are Shia as well. So it's not a Shia thing. It is the fundamentalist regime that is really using religion and theocracy to really control entire 90 million people.
Should we arm the Kurds?
From what we hear, they are armed.
I love the Kurds. The Kurds are great. The Peshmerga, oh yeah, they're awesome. Maybe we need to arm these people because the protesters aren't armed, right? I mean,
guns are illegal, but the Kurds are armed, right?
I love how America's solution to solve other countries' problem is to give them fire weapons, but then to solve its own problems is to take them away.
Thank you, Crocky. Finally, Crocky brings some logic to the show.
Well, if someone don't better not come to Tennessee, because guess what?
Exactly. That's exactly the point, right? So this has been great, Kenny. Really appreciate you taking the time. Tell us where people can find you, where they can find your book.
It's been a great conversation. I have 2 novels. I narrated the audiobook, so you can find it on Audible and Amazon.
In other languages?
And no other languages.
You didn't do Chinese, Kenny?
Right. There's Northeast, there's Northwestern, and then there's Bible Belt. Those are 2 different languages. There's that Tennessee drawl. If you're from Alabama, you can understand it. But...
Yes, just as long as you don't question my personal integrity.
There you go. There it is.
And I've made some YouTube shorts, Japanese poetry. I call them Kenny-kus.
Nice.
And some dating advice. There's a Hygiene Monkey series in there. So I just do really stupid stuff that, like when you're 7 years old and you wish you could have made commercials. Well, technology has caught up and now
it's Kenny time.
Sometimes I like doing that.
It's Kenny time.
Right, yeah. So my next novel is going to be about space aliens because that's what I like. I'm a goofy guy.
Awesome.
It's been great going back and forth with you guys. I had a lot of fun. And so, yeah, that's it. Writing helps me noodle through some of the traumas that I've had in my life. And I did not get post-traumatic stress from Iraq at all. It was my first marriage. So You know,
It survived
ooh,
Iraq, but
you
not
know,
her.
I'm getting married in 37 days, man. And sometimes I just wake up with like a dry mouth and just panicky. But I'm gonna do it.
Well,
I'm
what is the
gonna do it.
survival rate of a marriage right now? Anyway, is it at 30-something%, 40%? What are we at?
Well, it depends on
We
how you
need
run
each-
those stats.
We need each other to drive. She needs me to drive her to physical therapy and vice versa.
So you need each other. That's what it is.
Yes, it's a wonderful match.
So,
And she makes a lot of money too.
so
And she
you-
was
Yeah.
Navy.
she was Navy. Oh
I
my
will
goodness, she's
only
gonna run
get
a tight
married for
ship.
money now, Kenny. Like I got married for the first time. Next time, I'm getting married for money.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I hope you
that's-
find her.
yeah.
What was the app you found her on? All the fish in
Plenty
the
of
sea.
fish, plenty of
Say-
rich
yeah,
fish. I
plenty of-
need that app.
Go where the girls are, man. Go where the girls are, Joe. That's
Yes.
the point.
That's it. That's it. Well, really appreciate it, Kenny. This has been fun. Stay tuned, everyone. We got a great show coming up next week. Until then, nice talking to you, Kenny. See ya.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thanks, guys.